$90,000.
Why don't
It
you?
is.
I got an idea. Why don't you create the statute?
Mayor and council, you may join the meeting at any time.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it is supposed to say join.
Check your settings.
Check yourself.
The settings. You need to join town hall.
Is anybody having difficulties?
It doesn't say join for me.
Did you try to join it before I asked you to join it?
I refreshed.
Did you get the box that says close?
What does the box say? I'm here. I've arrived.
I got the board meeting up on my screen.
I think they're
Okay, if everybody's,
That's not the question, Marty.
if everybody's joined, we'll call the meeting to order.
Pound sand.
First item is roll call. Diane?
We're going to find out.
Chairman Skoog,
Present.
Vice Chairman Anderson,
I'm here.
Board Member Grossman,
I think I'm here.
Board Member Mallory,
Here.
Board Member Marshall,
Here.
Board Member Nye,
Here.
and Board Member Whiting.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor, or
We have a-
Chairman.
Quorum, we can go to work. First item is consent agenda. Approval of minutes, December 17, 2015 CFD minutes. Anyone want to pull it for discussion or vote? Make a motion to cover it.
Mayor, make a motion.
That thing,
What?
you have to read the consent agenda stuff.
You want me to read the whole thing? All matters under consent agenda are considered to be routine by the district boards and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items, this one item. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda to be considered separately. For discussion and possible action, anyone care to take possible action? Approval of the minutes, December 17, 2015, CFD minutes.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 17, 2015 by electronic vote.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
And we have the second. Would you set the vote?
Board Member Mallory, would you try setting the motion on your iPad, please?
You don't go over here.
I don't have a motion up here. It
There we
doesn't-
go.
No, it's not there.
Mine isn't asking
I
for a
am.
motion either.
I did join. Everything was fine, and now
Just go
every.
back out. Come back in. Join.
That's
Who wants to second that, please?
Oh, I'll be glad to.
Vice Mayor Henderson seconded.
I don't have it. I'm tired of
It's
this
just
thing.
finished.
It's not working, but I'm pushing the button. Oh, there we go.
It's not my fault.
Marty and I don't even have
Something must have happened.
Can anybody vote?
And mine didn't come up.
I have the wherewithal, but I don't have buttons.
Chairman Skoog,
Yes.
All right.
Vice Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Grossman,
Yes.
Board Member Mallory,
Yes.
Board Member Marshall,
Yes.
Board Member Nye,
Are we having fun yet? Yes.
Board Member Whiting.
Yes.
Mine says leave.
That's unanimous, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, move on to new business for review, comment, and interaction. Consideration of approving and ratifying the what is that? Tournament and agreement in relation to lease and license agreements between the Event Center, CFD, and NBAZ LLC, an affiliate of Phoenix Suns basketball team. Ivan, you have a bunch of explanation.
I do. Mr. Chairman, board members, on Friday, we got word from the Suns organization that they had reached an agreement with PVEC LLC for their lease and their sublease. Actually, it's a license agreement, but we think of it as a sublease. You might remember that as a district, you have leased to an entity called PVECLLC, the facility, the event center. We own it as a CFD, and then we lease it back to them to operate. And they have then entered into an agreement with the Sons organization to sublease it, although they call it a license agreement. In order to enter into that agreement, they had to get permission from the bankruptcy court. And we knew that they'd been working on that for quite a while. As they got close, they contacted us as the lessor and said, we're a little bit worried. You know, lawyers, they're always worried. And they said, if we enter into this agreement, we're a little bit concerned that the bankruptcy could result in PVECLLC no longer being a lessee in that facility. And that would mean that our license agreement would go away, and we wanted to make a commitment for a period of time. We don't want to have that suddenly disappear when we've got schedules and things that we need to do. So they said, would you be willing to enter into what we call an attornment agreement? And that basically means that if for some reason PVECLLC no longer had an interest in the facility, could they then consider themselves leasing it directly from the CFD? And we said, yes, we'll put that agreement together. Now, as lawyers, we said, there's actually language in our lease now that would provide for that. But out of an excess of caution, again, you know how lawyers are, they were looking for a separate agreement to make absolutely sure. And so we said we would do that and worked on it very quickly. They wanted to file it on Friday, and we had a meeting coming up, but they needed some indication that the district was approving it. And so the district manager went ahead and signed it on Friday so that they could file it with the bankruptcy court. And you're now being asked to ratify that signature that the district manager put on that document. If you look at the information that we put in the RFBA, we put a little bit of background that wouldn't surprise you, would it? We'd put a little history in there just so that you could see it. There may, as we've discussed, be some future actions that we'll be taking. And so I wanted to make sure that you had all the background there as we look forward to other things that may occur. And those things will, of course, be related to the bankruptcy process that's going on right now. That process hasn't resulted in any kind of a plan yet. This attornment agreement and that sublease or license agreement is all part of good things for the facility going forward. And it's making it possible for other entities to come forward and say, hey, we think we've got some real positive things going on, but we still have some things that we've got to accomplish in that bankruptcy, and all of these pieces will eventually have to come together. So just wanted to give you that background and anticipation.
Questions, anyone?
Yes, I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay, there's several that I had. One was the action we're taking tonight doesn't matter, or it isn't dependent upon whether the district chair or the district chairman sign that document. We would go through this process either way.
You mean whether the district manager?
District manager versus the district chair.
The district chairman is typically the person who should
Right.
sign it. And so the manager simply signed it to give some comfort to that entity, knowing full well we explained to them that we
Right.
would have to bring it here today and
Right.
have it
So either way,
ratified.
whoever signed it, we'd be still conducting this action tonight.
That's correct.
Right, okay. And then is there any financial liability? I'm just wondering, it's put in terms of it's going to be a benefit, obviously, to us, but is there a downside to this as well?
Well, today, no,
Yeah.
obviously, but if in the future, in the bankruptcy process, if PVECLLC were no longer the lessee, someone would need to be operating that facility. And so down the road, in the bankruptcy process, we still have some unknowns. And so right at the moment, we're saying we will be the one that you lease with if that particular entity goes away and they're no longer in the middle. And if that's the case, then we would be the lessor, and we'd be trying to run the thing, and we'd need to scramble in order to make all that happen. Now, again, we hope that that's all going to happen in a very orderly fashion through the bankruptcy process. We really do. But you never know. You're never absolutely certain.
Good. Any other questions?
Yes.
Laura?
It says here there is a provision for early termination at the end of the first year, but it doesn't tell us what that entails. It's only a blank statement, and I want more information about that.
Well, they basically can conclude that if it isn't working, they have the freedom under their arrangement with PVEC LLC to simply say, okay, we had a season, we're done. And I think they've got I think it's fairly open. There isn't a lot that they would have to do in that case. They've committed to 5 years, but they wanted that 1 year out. And partly, again, because of the uncertainties related to the bankruptcy process.
Okay, then if the bankruptcy goes smoothly and we solve issues, some of the concerns of that first year out could go away.
Hopefully it will. They entered into their agreement, those two entities, for 5 years, but you know, lawyers are. So.
I know. There's always an escape hatch, and I understand that. I just don't have to like it.
Other questions? Sounds complicated, Ivan.
Well, at least tonight, it's not that complicated. Our only action is to enter into the attornment agreement, and then we'll be seeing how things go.
The concern is whether we end up with a lifelong obligation on this thing financially to back it.
That's 30 years. I guess that's my question. I'm listening to you, and maybe I'm hearing this incorrectly, but I feel like you're saying building's ours.
The building is ours today. The building is ours today. We own the title because if we didn't, there would be about a $500,000 property tax that would have to be paid every year. And so that's why PVEC LLC doesn't own it. It has a reversionary right, or actually it's called a possibility of reverter, that would occur at the end of the 50-year lease, and also if there were some type of a default. Then they would eventually get the facility back. And that would have all kinds of implications for the bankruptcy, and it would just add more complexity if that ever were to go back. We feel good about the fact that we own the building. That helps it stay out of that tax. What we have today is our lease agreement with PVEC LLC. They then take it and they operate it and they run it. And if there are shortfalls on the revenue, they've been paying that. And that's their obligation under that lease. But the reason why they filed bankruptcy is that would give them, if in certain circumstances, they could theoretically no longer be the lessee. And that's been a possibility. They, right now, of course, are not proposing to do that. They're proposing to reorganize and to keep operating. And so we hope that that's the way it'll go. I'm just expressing to you that, we don't know exactly how the bankruptcy will go. But in order to make this part go forward, meaning the Sons making their commitment, they needed us to agree to attorn to their license.
Other questions?
I don't have another question. It has been really interesting since this announcement was made. The excitement that is in this community. It was all over the radio stations. This is a healthy, positive move forward, and we just have to go through all this legalese to get there.
That's right.
And the community is ready. They're really excited. And the Suns representatives that I talked to that day, as I'm sure the rest of you did, they were amazed at the turnout for the event and the attitude of those of us who were there, and said so openly that they just can't wait to get started. And so we just have to wade through all of this.
Other questions?
I have a quick question.
Steve?
So, what you're saying is, if PVEC LLC no longer exists, the town then has to run the event center. Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they would no longer be the operators. They would no longer be the lessee under our lease agreement. What will actually happen in the bankruptcy process, I don't know yet. One of the possibilities, though, would be that they would choose not to assume the lease. They would reject the lease. And that would probably be because they would have transferred their filing from a Chapter 11 to a Chapter 7. If that happens, then we're going to be holding title and not have a lessee. So something is going to have to be done one way or another, whether that's through a trustee who then goes out and tries to do something with the building, or us trying to go out and do something. We're not a party to the bankruptcy. But we may end up being involved in a Chapter 11 plan. We don't know yet how that's going to play out. And if there's a Chapter 11 plan that involves some things, hopefully that'll be a nice orderly process and they'll still be the lessee. Or if not, then they'll withdraw for some other reason. And we'll do something different. There are lots of possibilities.
In the worst case, Chapter 7 occurs, what then?
Oh, now, do you guys really want me to sit and talk to you about what's going to happen if we do a Chapter 7? Now, come on, guys. Right at the moment, what we're excited about is the fact that the Suns are here, and that's bringing some new revenue and some new excitement to the facility. And for that reason, PVEC is feeling good about their position right now. But what a Chapter 11 plan will actually look like, whether it will happen or won't, whether a Chapter 7 will end up happening, what the process would be in that circumstance, if a trustee is appointed, I just can't tell you.
Other questions?
Yeah,
Mike?
is there a time frame that has to come to some sort of resolution? What's the time frame?
Well, the bankruptcy was filed in August of 2014, and we're still
So there is no limitation.
we're still going. Was it 2014 or 2015? It was 2015. I'm sorry, it was 2015. But it hopefully will not take long, but processes don't always go as quickly as we'd like.
Well, I'm wondering, too, if they would just wait for a year to occur before they made up their mind to see how this relationship works out.
You're talking about the Suns?
And the
PVEC.
Thanes, PV.
Usually bankruptcy goes, there isn't that much freedom to not move forward. It's still going to have to go forward. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know that either the debtor or these licensees would be able to stop it for a year. I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, so it'll happen sooner than later.
It's going to move along.
Yeah.
If I could, real quick as well, and Evan knows much more about this than I do, but the bankruptcy judge had to approve this lease. And so
You want to pull your mic up to you?
I say the bankruptcy judge had to approve this lease with the Suns and PVEC, so they viewed it as a positive step that would help the event center stabilize and bring in a substantial revenue source. So the item before us today, I believe, is a very positive step and something we think will contribute to the success of that center.
Good.
What
Any other comments, Ivan?
No.
Any other questions? Are we ready to make a motion? Anyone?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion
Okay.
to approve and ratify a tournament and agreement in relation to lease and license agreements between the Event Center, CFD, and the MBAZ, LLC, an affiliate of the Phoenix Suns basketball team.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, with a motion and a second, you set the vote, Diane? Or call the vote, whatever works.
Chairman Skoog,
President, yes.
Board Member Whiting,
Yes.
Board Member Nye,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Marshall,
Yes.
Board Member Grossman,
Yes.
Board Member Mallory.
Yes.
Recall me. Yes.
That's unanimous, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, with that, one more item, and that's adjournment. Anyone get a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second, anyone?
I'll second, whatever.
Okay, we get a motion and a second. Would you call the vote or set the vote, whatever?
I'm sorry I did not catch who the first and second were, because we skipped comments from the public.
First was Mike, second was...
We have comments from the public.
Oh, I wish. Yeah, they reminded me we should have comment, but I don't think there's any public here to comment. No more comments.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, call roll one more time on this. Board Member Whiting.
Yes.
Okay, Chairman Skook.
Yes.
Board Member Mallory.
Yes.
Board Member Marshall.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Anderson.
Yes.
Board Member Grossman.
Yes.
Council Board Member Nye.
Yes.
That's unanimous, Mayor.
I think I got to shut down.